Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming to the Choosing and Setting Up Wild Apricot Payments webinar. We're going to be getting started in just about a minute. I want to give everybody an opportunity to find their way in and, of course, to be able to log in to GoToWebinar. A couple of points just as we're beginning. We will be recording this session and you will be getting in a recording by email at the end. So that'll be sent approximately 1 hour after we are done the webinar today. You'll also be able to ask questions, and you'll see the GoToWebinar question box on the panel on your right, the right-hand side of your screen, if you are using a computer, of course. If you're calling in with telephone, there won't be a way to ask questions here, but you certainly can get in touch with us otherwise, and we'll be happy to answer. And let's begin in just about 30 seconds, give you a chance to grab something to drink or a pen and paper to take notes with. And I'll take care of some housekeeping items on my end, and we'll begin in 30 seconds from now. Okay. So hello everybody, my name is Coach Mark, and of course I am with Wild Apricot, and I have to thank you for being here at this webinar today. We do want you to know everything about the payment system servicing fee that we did implement recently, and also how you can choose and set up Wild Apricot payments for your account. So I'd like to move forward with the presentation and introduce myself just a little bit. So again, I'm Coach Mark, and I started with Wild Apricot back in 2015. Some of you may know me from the live events that we've been doing. We have the Personified Connection series. We were in Chicago and DC recently, as well as Personifest last year in Austin, Texas. I'll also be at Personifest this year in Savannah, Georgia, and that's in April if you're interested. We also have on the webinar today Coach Rano, who started in 2016 and is Wild Apricot's Customer Success Manager and Onboarding Hero. He's going to be helping out with some of the questions that you may have during the webinar here, and we may answer a couple of them in the Q&A portion of the webinar as well at the end. I just wanted you to have an idea of who you'll be talking to today. Now, quickly before we go into the actual content of today's webinar, I would like to know what you are interested in learning about today. So I'm going to put a poll on your screen, and if you'd be so kind as to select one or multiple options as per the reason that you are here. So that should pop up on your screen right now, and we'll just take a moment or two so that people have a chance to respond to this poll. And as the responses are trickling in, it looks like a good portion of you are curious to learn more about the servicing fee. It also looks like a lot of people are here to learn about Wild Apricot payments and how they can set it up on their account, as well as what options may exist. So I'm going to go over all of those. Yeah, I think we can probably stop the poll now. I'm going to go over all of these answers for you in the webinar today. And it looks like there's a pretty good split. So everybody is able to take a quick look at what the schedule for today will be. So as a result of that, let's take a look at what we're going to cover in today's session. So I have it broken up into a couple of different portions here. Really quickly at the beginning, we're going to go over what the payment system servicing fee is, what you can do to make sure that it's not going to apply to you, and where you can review information that may be related to your account. And of course, we're also going to be talking about Wild Apricot payments and why exactly we feel it is that you should switch. We'll be talking about the costs and the benefits, where you can get more information, where you can schedule a demonstration or live training, and then we're going to go into actually how you can get it set up on your Wild Apricot account. At the very end of today's webinar, we'll be doing a Q&A with the time that we have available. And of course, we will be trying to answer questions throughout the webinar as well. So do make sure to find where the question box is on your GoToWebinar panel. That'll be how you can get in touch with us. And of course, we'll get back to you as soon as we possibly can. So to go into what the payment system servicing fee is, I need to give you a little bit of background context. So at the beginning of 2018, which was last year, Wild Apricot integrated with 16 different payment processing solutions. That was 16 different providers that we enabled you to be able to take online payments through. And consequently, that meant it was 16 different providers that we had to constantly keep maintained. We would write help site articles for these providers. We would have our support team be able to help if anybody did have a question or a concern with any of their payment processing providers. And how that really ended up looking for Wild Apricot is that instead of being able to focus our development and our support and efforts on one thing or improving the payment processing solution, we were just kind of maintaining a status quo with all of those different providers. And what's happened, flash forward to today, is we really want to come up with some new features and really improve the core offering of what Wild Apricot is. And of course, that's Wild Apricot Payments. And this is why we've elected to go this route. So what are the benefits for all of us on concentrating on one solution? Well, it means we can consolidate development. This means that we can get to more of your wish list requests and actually implement features that you've been asking for all this time, but have been impossible to do with the way that we were supporting solutions previously. It also means that our all-in-one solution that is Wild Apricot is even stronger now. Included in this all-in-one solution is Wild Apricot Payments. So not only are you able to take your memberships and do your renewals, events, and donations, but now you can actually do online payment processing with Wild Apricot as well. And at the end of the day, that's going to simplify the user experience for your admins much, much more. It's going to give you a complete 360-degree approach to the way that you manage your community. Your finances, your registrations, your data, it's all in one place now. And that's really going to be make your volunteers' lives much easier, make your bookkeepers' lives easier, and hopefully every single person that is on this webinar will enjoy the benefits of that. So to give you some quick facts about the payment system servicing fee, on July 2nd, 2019, Wild Apricot is introducing this fee. So what that means for you is that all account renewals that are on or after July 2nd, 2019 will be subject to this payment system servicing fee, which will apply if you are using a payment processor other than Wild Apricot Payments. So just to recap who this would apply to, if you do fulfill any of these criteria, or both of these criteria that you see on your screen right now, that being that your organization is in the US or Canada, and you use an online payment system other than Wild Apricot Payments, then you will see this fee on July 2nd going forward. Just for a quick reminder, this will not impact you until your first renewal on or after July 2nd. So if your account is on a 1 or 2 year plan right now, and maybe your renewal date isn't until 2021 or 2020, something like that, only at your next renewal is when you would actually see this fee. So it should give you some time to plan appropriately going forward. Now, there are a couple of people who won't see any fee increase on July 2nd, and those people are listed on screen now. If you are using Wild Apricot Payments, or you're not using any online payments, or you're outside the US or Canada. Most of our clients are in the US or Canada, and this is how we felt we could best serve. So importantly, how is this going to impact the billing of your account? And of course, we would like to review all this information with you at another time. If you do have any particular questions, you're welcome to get in touch. But just putting on screen quickly, it's only going to impact your account on or after July 2nd. So that means that everybody is going to have a slightly different date in which this new pricing structure will take place. For some people, it may be the end of July. For some people, it may be next year. For some people, it may be 2 years from now. Important to note is that if you are on a monthly plan, you still have the opportunity to switch to a 1 or 2 year subscription before July 2nd, and you will be able to secure your rate because 1 or 2 year prepayments do require you to pay in full. And thus, you would not see this fee until 1 or 2 years after you actually made your payment. So there is some room there if you are on a monthly plan to upgrade to a 1 or 2 year subscription, and that will give you a lot of runway here. And what's most important, I think, is that if you do elect to switch to Wild Apricot Payments after the new fees come into place, we do have a system in place to be able to refund a prorated amount based on the servicing fee that would take part for your account and based on the time that you actually have used it. So that's something that our billing team will be able to do for you. And of course, we'll do it for anybody that is able to switch to Wild Apricot Payments after July 2nd, but otherwise was on a yearly or 2 year plan. So when you're really considering the options that you may have between now and then, there are a couple to take note of. The quick one and the obvious one, I suppose, is to switch to Wild Apricot Payments. That way the payment system servicing fee will not apply to your account, and you can use Wild Apricot Payments all in the same place, and that's really the preferred suggestion here. You're also welcome to keep using PayPal, Authorize.net, Stripe. Our support will continue for these accounts. That's why the payment system servicing fee is coming into place. But you will, of course, see that 20% increase. And just to recap what we talked about a moment ago, if you do switch to Wild Apricot Payments partway through a yearly plan, then you will get that 20% servicing fee refunded at a prorated amount. So for example, if you did switch to Wild Apricot Payments in sometime in September, then you would have presumably used 1 month of the payment system servicing fee, and then 11 months would be unused, and that's the prorated amount that you would get refunded. So again, if you do need clarification there, you are absolutely welcome to get in touch. To give you an idea of what the fees will change to and how that will look for different types of tiers of plan, you can see on screen now that I've listed all of the available plans that are on Wild Apricot, as well as the relative contact limits. You'll also see the price without the payment system servicing fee. So that's the price as is right now. And then on the very far hand of the right, you will see the price, including the payment system servicing fee, and that's 20% of the monthly cost. And you can review this information in your email. You can review this online. If you do need to be able to look at this, please let us know. And I'm going to put on screen in just a moment all of the different places that you actually can be able to review this information. And just quickly, we did have a question come in about the date in which this is taking place. You are correct that this was previously set to take place on April 2nd, 2019, but we have since revised this to allow our communities a little bit more time to get prepared for this change. And now, subsequently, we are moving this date to July 2nd, 2019. So it is July 2nd that this fee will come into place, and so your renewal on or after July 2nd, 2019 would be the important date for you and your community. But just to clarify, it is July, not April. And again, if you do want to review this information, there are a couple places that I would encourage you to check out. The number one easiest way to do it is in program. You should see a notification on your account if you are logged in to Wild Apricot as an admin. That'll let you see that your organization may be subject to this fee and that you may want to take some steps to plan appropriately for the future. If you did get an email from us, and I only say if because every now and again somebody has revoked their consent for us to get in contact, that's the unsubscribe link at the bottom of the emails. So if that has happened to you, then you probably didn't get this by your email box, but we're more than happy to make sure you do get a copy. So you can either review the email you did get, or maybe one of your organization administrators, or you can get in touch with us. We're happy to make sure that you have the info as well. And of course, we do want you to get in touch. We want you to be 100% confident about everything going forward. That's always been Wild Apricot's goal. We want you to feel empowered and comfortable, and that you are able to serve your members as best as possible. So if there's anything we can do, please do feel free to get in touch with us by email. That'll be at support@wildapricot.com. Or if you are a paying customer and you're not on a trial, then you are welcome to get in touch with us because your paid subscription to Wild Apricot includes free phone support. And of course, all this information is online as well, but you will be able to see it at the bottom of your screen right now. Now, I've been talking a lot about what this fee will be and how it may affect your community, but what is the proposed solution? And I have alluded to it a couple times, but really what we would like you to do is take a look at the offering that we have now, which is Wild Apricot Payments. Now, Wild Apricot Payments was first introduced to Wild Apricot organizations in 2018 at the beginning of the year. It's offered by a wonderful payment processing company called AffiniPay, which has been in the market and business for over a decade now. They serve thousands of communities and tens of thousands of professionals. And it was really easy for us to be able to make an integration with a company that knew the association space so well. Their support agents and their experience and their presence is really geared towards associations, membership organizations, and the types of clubs that Wild Apricot is also servicing primarily. So for us, it was a natural marriage. They were a great company to work with. And we're just thrilled because they're able to offer the same kind of support that we are, which is hopefully the best support in the world. And at least that's what I think. But to give you some more information, there are thousands of Wild Apricot users using Wild Apricot payments so far. It's built directly into the program, so there's no manual integration required. Once you are approved for an account, you can actually connect it in less than 5 seconds and start taking payments very, very quickly. So we wanted to make that something that was very easy for all of our users. It also works with the Wild Apricot admin app, which means that you can actually take payments for memberships or events right at the door. There's a mobile swiper available, and if anybody does want more info there, just let us know. We can put a link in the chat at some point. And that's going to let you be able to take credit card payments in person on your mobile device. It clips in with a headphone jack, so it will work on most older devices. And that swiper is actually really cool. It's got a tap function. It's able to read chip cards. You can also swipe. And that's really going to maximize your capability to bring in more revenue at these events that you've worked so hard on. To go into more of the benefits, you can get all of your money faster with Wild Apricot payments. That's really one of the main reasons that we implemented this solution. Wild Apricot payments, instead of keeping your money in any sort of escrow account, will actually transfer all of the approved transactions every single day directly to your organization's bank account, which means that you don't have to do anything for this money to actually physically be in your bank account that you can access at any time. You can go to the beach, take a little bit of a nap, because people will be able to pay their renewals or register for events. The transaction will go through, be authorized by Wild Apricot Payments, and as soon as it's ready, it'll be in your bank account. We're also able to offer for Wild Apricot clients no setup fees, no monthly fees. Wild Apricot Payments is all included within your Wild Apricot account itself, and that's something that we just want to be able to offer to make everything a lot easier for everyone involved. So that's another one of the benefits. There are some more advantages that I can speak of. I did mention earlier that you can get your money faster, and that's really designed to make it so that your bookkeeper has a much easier time reconciling things, that you don't have to chase around payments. If you have a treasurer, they can know exactly what kind of funds are coming into the bank account, what kind of service fees may be deducted. It's all very easy to reconcile, it's all very easy to read, and that's really the main benefit here that I like. We also have industry standard transaction fees. That's to match what a lot of the other providers out there are doing. And that's just to be able to give you as much money as possible. What else you'll be able to do with Wild Apricot Payments is accept payments internationally. And I know that there was a bit of confusion with this. This was a pretty common question that I've been getting the last couple of weeks. So while you will have to be in Canada or the US to open a Wild Apricot Payments account, once you have one, you can actually accept payments from anywhere in the world. They'll pay in their currency, the money will be converted electronically, and at the end of the day, it'll go into your bank account in the currency that you're expecting without any hiccups. It'll be very seamless, and I just wanted to really highlight the fact that you are indeed absolutely able to take Wild Apricot payments internationally. With Wild Apricot Payments, you also have free PCI compliance, and not only is it free, but there are tons of guides available to help you to be more secure with the way that your organization handles online payments. And that's something that is going to be, it's going to help you be more secure. It's going to help you be more protected. And of course, it is a service that is offered for free. You also have an expanded reporting dashboard with Wild Apricot Payments. So some of you may be familiar with Wild Apricot's way of doing finances and how we are able to report on the income that your organization is taking into your account, or any payments or refunds that have been going on. But now you can actually go a lot more in depth into there and see exactly what funds have been transferred, what day payments came in. You are able to drill into things monthly, daily, yearly. And what's a little bit nice there too is that with Wild Apricot Payments, we are able to actually send tax reports to American customers. So that's a 1099 that you'll be able to get at the end of the year, and you'll be able, of course, to use that for your filings. Every month, you'll be able to get a statement sent to you by mail. If you're in the US, if you're in Canada, you can do it electronically. It's not a requirement by the IRS up here, but just to let you know, we do have all of these T's crossed and I's dotted, and we are more than happy to offer these services. Well, actually, they're included for free. So just a good FYI there. And I guess the last point to make note of is that money is deposited in full and service fees come out later. So what does this actually mean for you? Well, it means that if you were to get a $100 payment from one of your members, then that full $100 would be deposited into your account. There's still a 2.9 plus 30% or sorry, 30-cent transaction fee applied to that payment, but it wouldn't come out until the end of the month. In fact, it comes out on the 2nd of the following month. And that way, all of the money's transferred in full. Your treasurer, accountant, bookkeeper can see exactly what the payments have actually come in for and be able to write down those numbers without considering any sort of service fee. Then you can just see the service fee the day, or to be on the 2nd day of the following month. You can see exactly what may have been deducted, and it should be very easy to reconcile, hopefully saving everybody a couple of headaches. Now, when you compare it to some of the other solutions, Wild Apricot Payments really has some distinct benefits. And I don't really want to go too much into naysay about other providers because we do still support them, of course. But to give you an idea, when compared to PayPal, well, for example, PayPal does not transfer your money automatically and will also deduct your fees before your deposit. So that was a pretty common complaint that we heard. Bookkeepers, and especially if you're using a consultant or somebody who's outside of the organization, may not know the particulars of these types of details, and it can just be confusing and force you to do a little bit of a back and forth with them. With Wild Apricot Payments, of course, it's all deposited in full, and the service fees are deducted after, so that should save a lot of time there. When you compare it to Authorize.net, well, Authorize.net tends to cost a lot more. It has a monthly fee. It has a setup fee. Oftentimes, you actually have to pay your bank as well just to be able to accept payments online. So a lot of people don't realize that they're paying twice with something like Authorize.net. So a big advantage for Wild Apricot Payments there when it comes to dollars and cents. And then for Stripe, the same sort of story. Stripe has very limited customer support compared to what we can actually offer now with Wild Apricot and Wild Apricot Payments. We have some evening and weekend support, as well as all of the daytime hours covered, not only here at Wild Apricot headquarters, but with Wild Apricot Payments staff as well. So we've effectively doubled our support, and hopefully that's a big advantage there. Just to note quickly that Stripe also deducts your fees before your deposit. So again, you run into the same issue where your treasurer or bookkeeper might have a bit of a hard time figuring out what is what. And when you put it sort of on screen in a graphical format like this, you can see that Wild Apricot Payments really does have a lot of advantages and covers a lot of the things that individual payment processors may not be able to do in full. You can see that Wild Apricot Payments has a lot of different features, and you can compare them to other providers there. There's also a version of this graph online as well, so if you do want to review this at any time, just let us know, and we're more than happy to point you at the page of where you can see this. But I'll just leave this up for another second in case anybody has any particular questions, and I think it's going over rather well. So if you, like I mentioned, if you do want to review this information, just let us know, and we're happy to get in touch. So Wild Apricot Payments is actually a pretty simple process when it comes to applying. The application can be done from within your Wild Apricot account directly. You will be able to see this if you do go to the finance settings, and you'll be able to apply directly from in-program at any time. It's a pretty simple underwriting process too, and of course it will go by our team so they can confirm all of your information. But if your organization is a 501c3 or a registered charity or not-for-profit, this should be very easy for you to actually complete. There's a big question that comes up pretty often here, and it's relating to the need for a driver's license or a social security number, and I'll explain exactly why it is that this is part of the application process in just a moment. But it is a very expected and it's a common question, but so I want to make sure that we do talk about it. And lastly, any board member can apply for the Wild Apricot Payments account. And we know your organizations well. We know that you're going to change boards every year. We know that you're going to eventually have to pass off everything to somebody else and bring them up to speed. So I just want to make note that you are definitely able to change your organization representative at a later date. Wild Apricot Payments is very used to this. This is a very common procedure and very expected. So please feel like you're not locked into anything just because one person does have to apply to begin with. You can always change that representative at a later date. Now, once you are approved for Wild Apricot Payment, one thing that I really want to highlight is that you can actually schedule live training. So that can be done as soon as you are approved. It's in the approval email itself. And that's a great way to find out everything that can be done with your new Wild Apricot Payments account. I mentioned earlier that there's a dashboard for reporting and for all of your financial reconciliations. You can also do stuff like quick bill people, and I'll go into that in a moment too, but there's really a lot you can do. And so I do encourage you definitely to take this training, or at least arrange it for somebody in your organization who would be doing most of the financial matters. When you are approved, you can control exactly when you want to switch yourself. So it doesn't happen, the approval happens automatically, but the actual switch of your Wild Apricot account is something that you will have control over. And the idea there is that we just wanted you to feel like you can actually be able to make the switch when you are ready and when you are comfortable. But just as an FYI, it only takes about 5 seconds and the transfer will happen immediately. So if any payments do come in after you've made this switch, they'll go through the new payment processing and they'll eventually land in your bank account just fine. But I did want you to know that it won't happen automatically. You'll have to make the switch, but that's good news too, because you can make the switch anytime you are ready. And another thing to make note of is that this is actually a merchant account that you would be opening, which is great because it means that you can take payments and send money and be able to do all of that reconciliation on another gateway. And that's going to make it so that you have tons more control over what is going on for your organization's finances. And of course, I'll give you an idea of what that looks like in just a second, but I did want everybody to know that it is available. And you can see on screen that when you are approved for Wild Apricot payments, it would just be as simple as clicking a button. And once you did press that Connect to Account button, your account would be ready to go. You'd be able to accept payments from Visa, MasterCard, Discover, or Amex. Of course, you can turn any of those on or off depending on what your organization prefers. And that's about as simple as it can be with Wild Apricot. A single button click will get you set up. You can adjust the details after the fact, but otherwise you'll be ready to go. You'll be able to take money, as soon as you do that. And you'll see this is kind of what Wild Apricot's reporting capabilities and financial module looks like now. You're able to see the amounts and status of people's payments. But what you'll be able to do with Wild Apricot payments is actually log into the merchant account dashboard and be able to see all of the money that has come in to your bank account. So when we're talking Wild Apricot, we're speaking of invoices and payments made for those invoices. But when we're talking Wild Apricot payments, we can see actual dollar figures of money. You'll be able to break this down into any sort of date range that you actually want to report on, as well as do particular items and all sorts of cool things that are really specific and particular to Wild Apricot payments. So I do encourage you to take a look and check them out. You may also see a couple of things like Send Quick Bill in the top right of this dashboard. And that's a really cool feature, which means and makes it so that you can use your Wild Apricot payments account for other stuff that your organization may need to do online. For example, if you provide a service to other users and you do need to send them some sort of invoice, maybe Wild Apricot wouldn't really be the best place to do that because it's not a membership, it's not an event, it's not a donation. However, with Wild Apricot payments, you can actually send them a link via email to be able to see that invoice and pay online. That'll go directly to your Wild Apricot payments account as well. So this just makes it a little bit more versatile, and you can use this merchant account externally of Wild Apricot. It would be your merchant account for all intents and purposes, and you are definitely able to use it as such. So a couple of people were asking about what can be done about recurring payments. Now, not a lot of clients on Wild Apricot do use recurring payments as their the way that they accept payments online. It's actually just a small portion of our users. But if this is you, I do want you to be aware that when you switch payment providers, you are not able to transfer those recurring payment profiles. But there are a couple of suggestions on what you can do to make that as seamless as possible and remove as much pain. And I want you to be aware that we do have a help guide available on our help site at wildapricot.com, specifically gethelp.wildapricot.com, that will kind of guide you through this recurring payment transfer process. To give you just a little bit of a quick rundown, if you are using a provider like Authorize.net or Stripe, it's just a matter of having your users reauthorize those recurring payments, and they'll still get their renewal invoices, they'll still have all of their outstanding balances. They'll just have to click a button again and say it's okay going forward. If you're on something like PayPal, it's a little bit more difficult to transfer recurring payments, and that's why I really recommend taking a look at the guide here. You'll have to do a couple of steps before you're able to start setting up new payment profiles, and I do want you to be aware of that. So if this is you, please do feel free to take a look at the help site or get in touch with us for any sort of recommendation. Wild Apricot Payments is something that we're really excited about because it's ours. It's something that we built, and it's something that has Wild Apricot's name on it, which means we can develop for it. And this was something that was always kind of a sore spot in the past for us. We weren't really able to make solutions like PayPal any better. We weren't really able to do anything on the back end of something like Authorize.net to make it easier for Wild Apricot users. But now, fortunately, because Wild Apricot Payments is something we created, we are definitely able to improve it and upgrade it. And there are some really big changes coming in the next couple of months for Wild Apricot Payments. And just to give you an idea, we are going to be implementing the ability to take recurring donations. So that's really going to maximize your fundraising campaigns and the ability for your organization to take in more non-dues revenue there. It's going to be really fantastic. We're also going to be instituting one-touch refunds, which is going to make life a lot simpler for everybody. No longer would you have to go to more than one place to be able to actually refund money to your users and have Wild Apricot keep record of all of those refunds, payments, or anything you are doing with moving of money. But going forward, with Wild Apricot Payments, you'll be able to click a single button. Wild Apricot will be updated, the user's record will be updated, and the money will actually be sent to that user. So that's something that's coming soon, and we're really excited about it, as well as faster checkouts. And that's something that we really want to do so that people can take more money at events and be able to sign people up on the spot for registrations or additional extras. And that's just going to make it easier to be able to bill your members and familiar members a little bit faster. So these are all coming for 2019. We have tons more ideas planned for the future. I'm just really thrilled to be able to offer them finally after so many years of just keeping up with our existing integrations. Now, Wild Apricot Payments really does have a lot of other benefits, and there are a lot of other questions that you may have. All of these facts are listed on our help site as well with answers. So you will be able to go to gethelp.wildapricot.com and get these answers at any time. But just to give you an idea of some of the most frequently asked questions, is the transaction fee of 2.9% plus 30 cents charged in US or Canadian? The short answer here is it's charged in whichever country you are in. So if you're a Canadian customer and you have a Canadian bank account, then those fees would be charged in Canadian dollars. If you're in the US and you have a US bank account, then of course those would be charged in US dollars. So it is specific to your geographic location, and of course you wouldn't have to worry too much about any money conversions there because it would all be done for you. How often are the fees transferred to your bank account? Well, they're transferred every night at 11 o'clock Central, and that'll be for all of the funds that did clear that day. So it usually takes a day or two for online credit card payments to clear the MasterCard network and really kind of be approved as being authentic. But as soon as they do, they will be transferred that very day to your account. So full circle, it usually takes about 1 or 2 days to be able to get funds into your bank account there, but it's only 1 or 2 days, which is a lot faster than some of the other solutions we were able to provide in the past. You can definitely see reports of these transactions. You'll be able to pull those at any time through your Wild Apricot Payments dashboard. If you are in the US, you'll also get statements sent to you by mail. That's an IRS requirement, so you will be able to get that as well. And for those of you who already have an AffiniPay account from another organization, you are able to use it with Wild Apricot. You don't have to apply for a new one. If you already have one, you're able to connect it. And if you do need any help there, just get in touch. We'll help you through it. Now, this is probably the biggest question, and I really do want to make sure that everybody has a clear understanding of this one, but it's why am I being asked for personal information for my application? Well, this is something required by KYC, which stands for Know Your Customer. And it's a banking standard that was instituted in most North American G8 countries a number of years ago. In fact, in America, it's kind of a holdover from the Patriot Act back in the early 2000s. And I have some more information about that I want to be able to show you. This is just recouping what I just mentioned. Really, Know Your Customer is designed to mitigate risk when dealing with payment processing and financial moving of money online. So at the end of the day, it's really kind of a good practice as it helps prevent things like illegal business practices or money laundering, and is really going to make your account more secure. So that's the reason we're asking for this information. It's not because we want it, it's actually pursuant to financial regulations. And you'll be able to see on your screen now, whether you're in US or Canada, whether it or what the reasoning for this financial regulation is. You can see for the US, it's pursuant to the Patriot Act, and in Canada, it is due to FinTrack, which came into place in June 2016. Thus, both of these countries here in North America do have to adhere to know your customer standards. And so that's the reason we're asking for a driver's license or social insurance, social security. None of this is used in your application process. It's simply kept on file to satisfy these standards. And what is used in your application process is your organization's tax records or your bank account statements, just to confirm that you are, in fact, a legitimate organization that's capable of accepting money. So I mentioned a little bit earlier, but just to kind of give you another taste of why we partnered with Affinipay to be able to provide Wild Apricot payments. They've been doing this for over 10 years. They have over 5,000 associations set up through their payment processing. And because they actually have some solutions designed for lawyers and accountants, they have over 50,000 professionals using this as their everyday, day-to-day online banking. Affinipay also has an A+ BBB rating, so that's something that was very encouraging to us. And we found them to be nothing but super when actually dealing with support and speaking to Wild Apricot customers. So we're very happy to call them part of our family at this point, and I just want you to know that we have a lot of faith and trust, and I hope that you do too. Another common question is, does Affinipay offer nonprofit pricing? Well, all of the pricing for Wild Apricot payments was really kind of designed with a single and easy pricing model for everyone in mind. So there is just the 2.9% and 30 cents, but the benefits there are that there are also no setup costs, no monthly cost for Wild Apricot customers, free things like PCI compliance, free fraud protection. It's all included in the offering that we have for Wild Apricot users. So there's no specific pricing, but it's all included in the same offering. And just to give you a visual idea of what Wild Apricot Payments is capable of, these are some of the accreditations received by Affinipay over the last few years. Wild Apricot, of course, is also the #1 member management program for the last 6 years in a row. So when you put 2 and 2 together, we've both been doing rather well these last couple of years. So Affinipay was Entrepreneur of the Year 2016. They've been on the honor roll 7 years in a row, and they're just part of the Austin super businesses in Austin that are just doing fantastic and really growing well. So again, we're really happy to be part of their family. We're happy that they're part of our family, and hopefully everybody feels the same. And the Affinipay solution was created a long time ago. And I mentioned that they do have some other offerings as well. You may know them better as LawPay or CPA Charge. And again, those would be things, payment processing solutions that are more specific to lawyers or legal firms or accounting agencies or firms there. But again, just to give you a lot of idea of how stable and how solid this solution is, it actually has multiple brands. That's how good it is. So I just want to bring it back home about Wild Apricot as well, not to speak too much about Affinipay and Wild Apricot payments, because at the end of the day, we're still the same apricots that you've worked with for years. And some people were worried that in implementing a fee like this, we may be changing the way we're doing business. And no, we won't be doing that at all. We're going to be giving you the same support with the same developers, the same mission that we've been really working hard towards all of these years. And the whole idea behind this was to be able to enable you better to manage your community. And that's really what we want to help you to be able to do. And being part of the Personify family has really given us a lot of opportunity to serve you better. You may have noticed that we've started doing live events recently. That's something that's pretty new for Wild Apricot. We were at Personifest last year. We'll be at Personifest this year. We have a number of the Personify Connections conferences, and I hope that some of you have had a chance to visit one of them. There are a lot of attendees in here, so I don't see anybody by name, but hopefully one or two of you have had a chance to actually attend. And if that is you, then please let everybody know that they're tons of fun. And we just love being able to offer you, a good conversation at the same time as having a meal in person. Very unique experience, something that Wild Apricot has only recently been able to do. And when you consider how that works with the Personify family, it really kind of enables us to integrate better with so many more different solutions and really to provide more of us, more options and more benefits to all of our users on Wild Apricot, as well as the members that you do serve. So we're going to be around for the long haul. Wild Apricot is still growing. We're still coming up with new plans. You saw earlier that we have upgrades planned for our own payment processing. There's a lot that we have intended for the near future. We want you to stay with us, of course, and we're going to stay with you. So just to give everybody an idea, we're all the same apricots. This is just a couple of the members of our team, as well as some of our cupcakes that we do enjoy. But we're all we're really thrilled that you have taken the opportunity to learn more about this change that we're making. And yeah, it's just been a pleasure to serve you all these years. Hopefully those years last a long time. And to recap some of the things we spoke about and where you can go for more information, if you do find that you didn't get the email or you have any particular questions about anything to do with Wild Apricot, then please do get in touch with support@wildapricot.com. If you would like more information about Wild Apricot payments, such as an introduction, or you want to arrange one of those demonstrations that I spoke of, then please do feel free to email us at wasupport@affinipay.com. So that goes directly to the Wild Apricot team at Affinipay, and they're going to be equipped and capable of being able to handle Wild Apricot related questions. So I definitely recommend going there if you are interested in any way, shape, or form. And of course, if you do have any questions about your account billing, then please do get in touch with us at billing@wildapricot.com. So those will be for billing inquiries or account related specific to your account and the way that your organization actually bills for Wild Apricot, and we do welcome your questions there. Now, I did want to set aside a little bit of this webinar for questions and answers. We have, there's about 20 minutes left, but it's let's see how many questions we can actually go through, because I think Coach Rano has done a pretty good job of keeping up with them in chat. So let's take a look at one of the questions that was sent in. So, can funds be transferred on a weekly or monthly basis? We have an established workflow for the bookkeeping of funds transferred from our Stripe account and would rather not revise it. Well, by default, everything would be transferred every day. And the short answer here is the reason we did this is we figured that it would be the easiest way for everybody. The money doesn't sit in any sort of escrow. It gets into your bank account as quickly as possible because we really kind of want you to have control of your own funds and money. So by default, it's all set up on a single individual day. If you do have any questions about this, please do get in touch with us at support@wildapricot.com. We're more than happy to sort of detail how this happens and what you can do to take best advantage of it. And I do appreciate you asking, but it'll be every day, but please do get in touch with us anyhow. Now, another question did come in. We often have to issue a full or partial refund for payments. How are these managed in your system? PayPal makes it very easy and also reimburses the portion of the fee. Well, how this is done on Wild Apricot Payments is, and this is something that we do have planned as an upgrade to make that one-touch refund. That's one of the major changes that we're making in the next couple of weeks. So that's the big plan there. So going forward, and especially by the time that this fee really comes into effect, so around July or summer, we do plan to have one-touch refunds. So you'll be able to log into Wild Apricot, go to an invoice, click refund, and that will actually send the money back to your user. As it stands right now, it is still in you would have to make the refund in two places. You would go to the invoice on Wild Apricot and either void or refund it on the Wild Apricot side of things. Then to transfer the money, you could do so through the Wild Apricot Payments portal, which would make it really easy to be able to send money back to that user as well. So that's soon turning into a single button. Right now it's in two places. And that's a very excellent question. Another question came in that was asking, and maybe I didn't touch on this, it's, can you accept Amex and Discover payments with Wild Apricot Payments? Yes, you are able to, and of course you are able to select whether you would like to accept these cards, but you are able to accept American Express and Discover payments with Wild Apricot Payments. And those two particular cards are sometimes a little bit more expensive for your actual member to use. One of the trade-offs of Amex and Discover just as products, but I'm sure that anybody who's using those cards is a little bit more familiar with those actual fees. And of course, there's a full schedule of any sort of additional pass-through fees, is what they're called in the industry. They tend to only really apply to Amex or Discover cards, or if you're taking payments from a currency not of your own. But we have a full schedule of those fees online as well. So that's where I would refer you back to get help at wildapricot.com, where you will be able to find a full list of any pass-through fees such as that. But the short answer there is yes, you'll be able to take Amex. Yes, you'll be able to take Discover. And just to look at another question now. All right, next question. We currently use PayPal for a very minimal amount of things. It sounds like we can switch to Wild Apricot payments with no increase in fees or account payments other than what we already pay with PayPal. Is that right? Well, that's an excellent question, and I would love to, of course, take a close look at that just to make sure that I can speak completely accurately. But the short answer is that, yeah, you would be able to switch from PayPal to Wild Apricot payments with no additional fees. It should actually be really similar to the servicing fee that you may be paying for PayPal right now. So in fact, it would be a pretty simple switch. So for somebody, if that sounds like you, where you're using your account very minimally, maybe only for membership payments or a couple of registrations a year, you will be able to apply, make the switch to Wild Apricot payments and get set up. It could be as little as a couple of days. The application process itself takes a day or two, and then the account can be switched at any time. So you pose a good scenario in which you would be a perfect candidate to go and switch, and you would really experience no hiccups in the process. If anything, you'll just experience all of the best benefits. So I definitely encourage it, and if you are interested, get in touch with us. We can help you through that application. Somebody has asked, they came in a little bit late, so it's sorry I missed the first few minutes of the webinar, but the 20% fee for not using Wild Apricot is going to be added on top of the fee we are charged for using Wild Apricot. That is correct. So how this would work is after July 2nd, which is when the payment system servicing fee will come into place, the first renewal that your organization experiences after July 2nd, so whether you're on a monthly or a yearly plan, that's when you would see this fee increase. And it would indeed be built right into your Wild Apricot account payments. So this is something where it's 20% of whatever your normal monthly fee is for Wild Apricot, and that would be built into the way that you are paying for your Wild Apricot account as well. So that'll be, you'll be speaking with billing at wildapricot.com. You will get invoices from billing at wildapricot.com. And of course, that's where you would see the addition to your servicing fee. So good question, and I am happy you asked. Another question, a follow-up question to the question about refunds. Will Wild Apricot payments refund the servicing fee to the organization or just the payment to the member? That's a good question. So if the payment is refunded before 11 o'clock Central, which is normally when the money would be transferred out of the account, then no additional servicing fee would apply. It would just be the single payment for the 30 cents, which is for moving the money in the first place. And that would be if you did get to the refund within 24 hours on the first day. If you got to it the day afterwards or beyond 24 hours, there's no limit to when you can actually refund money. But if you do it after 24 hours from when the money was received, then you would actually see a servicing fee both for receiving the money and for sending the money back. So if you do experience a lot of refunds, you'll want to try and catch them as quickly as possible. But the good news here is that there's no limit as to when you can actually refund money. Some other providers have a 120-day limit, I believe, with PayPal, but Wild Apricot Payments does not have that limit. So you'll be able to refund money all year. Just be aware that you'll want to try and do it within the first 24-hour period. A question, is this PowerPoint going to be available after the webinar? Not the PowerPoint itself, but I am going to be sending a video recording of this presentation. So you will be able to see all of the slides in the recording, as well as this question and answer portion. So hopefully that will answer questions, and you can share it very freely with anybody else in your organization who does want to be brought up to speed. So I'm happy you got that, and you'll receive it in your email just about an hour after we're done here. So whatever minute we do happen to finish the webinar here, you'll get it 1 hour after that. Now, I think we did get to a lot of questions today, so I'm happy that everybody did did come out to this webinar and did have a bunch of questions for us. If you do want to get in touch and you have anything else that we didn't address here today, then please get in touch with us at support@wildapricot.com. Otherwise, take a look at Wild Apricot Payments, see how the application goes for you. And of course, if there's anything else we can do, please do just stay in touch with us, Wild Apricot. Otherwise, everybody here really would like to thank you for your time and for your curiosity. I hope you learned a lot today. And from all of us at Wild Apricot to all of you and all of the members you serve, thank you very, very much. So I hope everybody has a really wonderful day. We'll be doing more of these webinars as time goes on, but for the rest of the day here, I hope you have just a great time. So thanks again for coming out, and everybody have a wonderful day, wonderful week. Thanks again from everyone at Wild Apricot. Bye for now.